Might be a bit of a shocker, but if you have a Garmin inReach, you don't have to buy your subscription through Garmin. There are third-party services that offer these plans. Now, I think for most people, a standard Garmin subscription for inReach works fine. I'll tell you which one I use and recommend at the end of the video. But what if you have a special case? What if you want to pay per day, pay per bytes, or maybe have something like an automatic alarm that goes off and triggers an SOS if some kind of condition happens? Or maybe you just want some enhanced customer service. Maybe you're having a hard time and you need to go back and forth with somebody and you want like a little bit more hands-on. Well, there are two options that I'll share with you in this video. Now, important to mention that these are approved by Garmin. You're not breaking any rules by using these services. They actually work with Garmin to transfer your service over. And from a high-level perspective, the way this works is that these companies are buying essentially data off of the satellites from Garmin, whether directly or through another party, and they repackage that into a different plan, and then they resell that to you. It's the same thing that companies like Consumer Cellular and Google Fi do here in the States. They buy cell phone time from towers, from AT&T and T-Mobile. They repackage it into data plans that they think work best for their customers, and they offer it to you. So that's how this works, and totally legitimate. I've used both of these services and it all worked as expected. Also important to point out that this is not sponsored by them. I'm not being paid to do this. I just thought it was very cool and could be very helpful. Now, the first company is called TrackMe NZ, and they're based out of New Zealand. The one thing in dealing with these, and I've talked to them a bunch of times about the service, asking the questions. They've been very gracious with their time. But these guys who work there, guys and girls, are not just like employees. They are fully into the world of satellite communications and tracking. And what that equates to from a customer service perspective is people who can really help you quickly and understand what the needs of a user are. They're not reading through like a customer service handbook or anything. They know their stuff. Now, there are two plans. They offer recreation plans and team plans. And you'll go to the website, you'll see this is in New Zealand and Australian dollars. They are offering these plans to people in other countries like the United States. If you're unsure, just contact them. I'm not going to go into the details on the pricing of all these plans because it just really depends on what kind of use you're going to use. You have to crunch the numbers yourself based on your conditions. But I will go over the features that I think make these plans stand out. Let's look at the consumer recreation plan. This is based on messages. So you pay per messages, and then on the team plans, you can have multiple users and you pay per byte. So you can basically use those bytes of data for anything that you want. They came up with this handy little chart here that shows you how much each one of these Garmin inReach functions chews up in terms of bytes. So that might make sense depending on how you're going to use it. The other features that stand out is all the plans have unlimited tracking, but at different intervals. They offer a free basic weather report, which is different than Garmin that charges for a message for that. You can customize your check-in and preset messages. If you have a newer inReach account, you are not able to do that, but here you can. You can also opt to having your SOS call handled by Focus Point, and Focus Point is an emergency response center similar to what Garmin offers with Garmin inReach, which is called Garmin Response. Both great setups. I prefer Focus Point because I did a video on them and I interviewed them, and they're all people who've worked in emergency services before. A lot of times they're ex-military or law enforcement, so they really know their stuff. So you can opt into Focus Point. You have to buy a subscription to Focus Point, but they can, put them as your emergency contact on here. So very, very cool. You can also get a dedicated SMS number, but it is in New Zealand or Australia. If you're not in those countries, that will be your number. So if somebody texts you, they'll be texting a New Zealand or Australia number. I don't even know if there's charges for international text anymore. Probably not. Who knows? But just something to be aware of. But it gives your device a number, not like the Garmin Messenger app, which actually uses your cell phone number as a user ID. This is like the Zolio, where it gives your device a dedicated number that people can put in their phone books and message without any special apps or anything. They do offer their own dashboard that you can do an audit and see when messages and data goes through. So if you just want to look at it on a map, if you want to see if your track points are going through or not, you can go here and double check. I know sometimes people have problems. They don't think things went through. You can check with that. You can also integrate it with third-party services like Follow My Challenge and a bunch of others. It's just sort of a click on the dashboard. And they do offer some other plans that for an additional cost, you can get automated monitoring. So don't show up at a certain time, an SOS will be triggered. So again, very helpful and something that you can't do with Garmin plans right now. But I'd say overall, and I kind of mentioned in the beginning, the thing that stood out for me here was the customer service. When you sign up for this, they send you a spreadsheet and you fill out the spreadsheet with your check-in messages, your contacts, your quick text, all the different things that you would put into your inReach. You send it back to them and they send you a configuration file, which loads it all up for you. So you can save the time of doing all of that configuration on your device, and you load that up and it just works as planned. Whenever I've had to email the customer service, they get back to me very quickly. Another neat thing they do is they send emails when the inReach service is degraded or there's a problem. And this is something that Garmin doesn't do. Garmin has a system status page that you can go check out and see when things are slow or there's problems there. But with TrackMe, they'll actually send you a message and let you know that it's happening. So very considerate and very cool. They also, like I said earlier, they work with people in this community. So if you have a custom need, maybe you are throwing an event or you have a team of people or you have multiple devices, you have Zoleo, spots, inReach devices, maybe something else, you can handle all of that with TrackMe. They actually sell third-party plans for Spot and also Zoleo. And you can have all of those different devices on one account, which I don't think you can do on any other one. So if you have something custom that you want to do or you have multiple devices, all you have to do is reach out to them and talk to them, and I'm sure they can work out a system that works for you. But if you don't have anything that hardcore and you just want some of those features I mentioned earlier, you can just go to the website, sign up, and that will initiate the process, like I said earlier, where they send you the spreadsheet and you get going from there. But overall, I was very happy with these guys, and they're good people, and that's an option for you. The other one is from Germany. It's called Protegear. I've used them a few times over the last couple of years, and again, it works as expected. The standout features are that you can pay per day, per week, or per month. And if you pay per day and you go over, if you don't turn it off, there's a dashboard where you can turn these things on and off. But if you don't turn it off, you want to keep it on, your adventure goes longer than you expected, it'll roll into the weekly plan automatically, and then it'll automatically roll into the monthly plan, which are, cheaper the longer you have it. So very cool. It's like automatic low cost function. They have different inReach plans, and on the website, I appreciated this little questionnaire. They have this little data advisor where you can answer some questions and get to the plan that makes the most sense based on what you need and what they offer. And like TrackMe, you can customize the presets here. There's a big dashboard that has a ton of options in terms of customization, adding contacts, all of that. You also get a dedicated email address that can be used from any email at any time, not just the inReach to inReach email that Garmin gives you. They have a different weather service, MetGIS, which is, I think, a little bit better. I haven't done a hardcore comparison of the different accuracies of weather, but they use MetGIS, which is great. You can use any tracking interval with their plan. And in the dashboard, you can set up something called a smart safety switch, and they have documentation that explains how this works. But again, this is another sort of dead man switch. So if you deviate off course, if you're traveling with other people in the party, you can notify them first if there's a problem, and then you can escalate it on a second try to an SOS service. So really handy feature. I noticed they work with the maritime community as well. The dashboard is a little techy, but it's worth mentioning that their customer service is great if you get stuck or not sure where you look for something. I've never had to wait longer than a day. It's usually a lot quicker than that, emailing the customer service here and getting an answer. And they've also helped me set up different things on the dashboard, so you don't necessarily have to do it yourself. Overall, Protegear has been great, no problems whatsoever. And I think it's a good option, especially if you want some flexibility in the way you pay for your usage. Now, there are plans by Garmin called the professional plans. If you have a team, you can have multiple devices, not Zoleos and stuff, but you have multiple inReach devices on the Garmin professional plans. I made a whole video on that. I'll link to that underneath this video where I do testing between different devices and show you what it's all about and how to set it up. So that's called the Garmin professional plan. But I think between those three plans, if you have a special case scenario, you should be fine. If you just want to use your Garmin inReach as the standard, hiker or end user, there's a couple plans that I would recommend. The one I use is the annual consumer recreation plan. It's $25 US a month. I probably hike a little bit more than most people, but why I got this plan over the lower one is because it has unlimited tracking points. And I always turn tracking on when I'm out and about in the backcountry, because if something catastrophic happens, like I have a heart attack or a stroke, or I get separated from my device, there'll be a breadcrumb trail that search and rescue can follow to find my last position. So for me, that's worth the extra cost of this plan. I think the annual safety one is also a good buy. It's $11.95 a month in the US. And if you do want to do location tracking with that, you can do it. You just pay 10 cents per point. If you have a 10-minute tracking interval, that's 60 cents an hour. So if you're just hiking occasionally, that's not a lot of money either. You can use this wherever you are. It's not just for hiking in the outdoors. I carry mine in my backpack all the time. And I think overall, just having a two-way satellite communicator is a good bet. I know that when iOS 18 comes out, we'll have two-way messaging as well. I will test that when it comes out. So if you don't subscribe already, subscribe. I will test that, and I'll test it versus an inReach. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Any questions, any experiences with these, or any new services that pop up, let me know about it in the comments. I will do my best to get back to you. And stay safe, and I'll see you out in the trails.